good morning, everybody, and welcome back to today's session on soft skills. I'm K. Shailaja Rao, soft skill trainer at the Aditya Global Business School, Surampalam. So, what are we here today for? Today, we are going to see something that is called just a minute. I'm sure you've heard JAM before, JAM, and you've seen many shows on television where the host asks the participants or just randomly anyone to speak for a minute. I'm sure I saw this a few years back on some Telugu channels where the host puts the mic in front of you and says, speak for a minute in Telugu without using even one English word. So basically, what do we do in a jam? We try to speak fluently, continuously, thinking logically, without using words repetitively, and you try to impress the other person. That's exactly what we're here to learn today, because it does sound easy, but is it really that easy? Have you ever tried talking in front of a mic and to see if you could speak for 1 minute continuously on any topic? Well, that's the question. So, just a minute, it's a literacy activity. It actually improves your communication skills, how well you can communicate within a minute. And it seems very easy, but let me tell you, you try it and you'll see for yourself it's not that easy. Because even in that television program, we see so many students, people fail to speak in pure Telugu without using an English word. And then they can't even speak for 10 seconds without using an English word. The same happens when you try to speak in English. You cannot speak continuously without saying an or an ah. So why does this happen? So why should we try to improve ourselves in speaking continuously? The reason is JAM is today used for interviews, for introducing yourself, for speaking to someone for the first time. Even in class, when you're asked a question, you probably have to speak for a minute without too many pauses. So let's see how this can be done efficiently, effectively, and done well. Because all of you probably are going to come into college very soon, and you will be asked to introduce yourself. So how do you do it within a minute? Or you may be given a topic and asked to speak about it. It could be a simple topic like a friendship, or there are some topics I'll show you right now. So JAM, like we said, it is a famous game where they speak for 1 minute. Actually, I think this had come from an English channel, Just a Minute, where a round of contestants actually speak, sing, or do some activity for a minute. And we try to do this in groups. This could be used as a recreational activity also, where your groups are asked to made into teams, and they're asked to speak for 1 minute on any topic. The best group which speaks well on the topic wins. So the most fluent speaker is the winner. So that's just how it is done for recreation, for entertainment. So some of the topics could be like a place I'll never forget. I'm sure all of you have been to places. It could be your grandmother's place, your grandparents' place, or a place you visited, a temple you visited, a picnic you went to. It could be anything. The person I admire. You could be asked to speak about a person whom you admire. It could be anyone. It could be a well-known person, politician like a Narendra Modi, or a sportsman like Tendulkar or a Dhoni, or my perfect pet. Some of you have pets, you can speak about your pets. What you think is a perfect pet and why you should have pets and things like that. The worst TV show I've ever seen. I'm sure all of us have had a share of worst TV shows. So that could also be a topic for discussion. And a memorable holiday. I'm sure some of you or all of you have been on a holiday somewhere. It could be as close as your grandparents' house, uncle's house, anything, or a place you have visited recently which has made an impression on you. These are some just likely topics that could be done in a jam. These are done not only for recreation but also to improve your communication skills. Why are we discussing jam now? We are discussing this because just a minute has become a very important way of assessing your communication skills, assessing your spoken skills, assessing your confidence, your analytical, logical thinking. Most companies today, when they come for interviews, either they do a GD or a jam. Jam is you're given, sometimes they ask you to select your own topic. Even for that, you have to be really prepared. Sometimes they give you a topic and you're asked to speak on that. The topic could be as simple as this, or it could be more complicated. They could ask you about the vaccine to coronavirus. Why do you think India has been successful or unsuccessful so far? What is the global impact of coronavirus? There could be some complex topics and there could be some very simple topics. So let's try to understand or try to become aware of how to speak in a jam if the situation arises. Jam is generally for a minute, 60 seconds. So what is a jam? Like I said, you're asked to talk about a particular topic without having any grammar mistakes. That's one thing you have to make sure, because most jams for interviews or any other place, even introductions, are conducted in English. So you should make sure that you make no grammar mistakes. And then what is tested? What is tested in a jam? When a student is asked to present a topic for a minute, so what is the person listening to? What is he trying to assess? What is he trying to evaluate? He's trying to see your communication skills. He's trying to see your behavior, how you behave, how confident you are. He's going to see your smartness. Can you think on your toes? Sometimes, most times, that is, topics are given right on the spot. You're given less than a minute to even think, and you're supposed to start speaking immediately. So can you do that? Are you smart enough to think and speak immediately? The way of presenting yourself, the way you presenting your ideas, your thoughts, is that logical? Are you going step by step, or are you all confused? And then the confidence skills, how confident you are about what you're saying, how confident you feel within that group. It all shows not only in your verbal communication skills, but also in your non-verbal gestures. The way you move your hands, the way you stand, erect, stiff, or are you, fiddling, or, you could be doing this when you're confused or you're nervous, or you could just be standing confidently and speaking. So how are you presenting yourself? And then now these are the way you're being assessed. Then what is it? How should the candidate speak? So what should the candidate be doing? He should try to speak without any repetition of sentences. What happens is, when your mind cannot think continuously, in order to break the silence, you repeat yourself again and again. So try not doing that. And then you need to have good communication skills, and you actually want to make a good impression, right? The candidate wants to make a good impression, whether it's in college, in front of the teacher, in front of an acquaintance. Somebody has come to your house, your father asks you, introduces you, and then you have to speak, maybe for half a minute. So you want to make a good impression on that person. So how do you do that? So if you know how to speak in a jam, you will probably do well in any situation. It could be at home, at a party, at college, in an interview. You could do, if you learn these techniques, you could do well anywhere. So let's see how you can speak in a jam. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. So, how to speak in a jam? There are three things we should think about when a topic is given. Immediately when the topic is given, we have to think about, how do we start speaking immediately? what the topic means. Think about what the topic means. It could be friendship. So, what does friendship mean? And then, why is it important? Okay, why is that topic important? Why has that topic been selected? What are the examples? Always give some examples. You probably know it could be any topic. It could be about friendship, it could be about the environment, it could be about any of the other skills. The topic could be anything. But first, you should know what it means. Okay? Unless you know what it means, you cannot speak. So, what it means, why is it important, and you should always try to give some examples. That's all you need to do when you have to speak only for a minute. So a few seconds for what it means, a few seconds in the middle for why it is important, and last 20 seconds for some examples. So let's see by taking an example. So the example I took here is listening. Why I've got so much matter is just to show you how to divide this and speak. So listening. Why is listening important? If somebody was asking you to speak on listening, you could speak like this. You can to listen is to the sound. It could be a sound or an action. When listening, one is hearing what others are saying and trying to understand what it means. So when you're listening, you're actually listening to a sound or some sort of an action. Okay, so what are you trying to do when you're listening? You're trying to understand what the other person is saying. So what it means is to hear the sound of what somebody else is saying. So and this is very important here, because listening, even God expects us to listen more. That's He's given us 2 ears and 1 mouth, but we tend to talk more and listen less. But let me tell you, very good speakers listen more and talk less. They become good speakers because they listen more than they speak. They listen and give it a lot of thought before they say something. Then, why is it important? Because your ability to receive some information and interpret it is important in the communication process. So communication is not complete if you just say something. Somebody has to listen to it, and then feedback has to be given. Only then communication is complete. So listening is a very important step in communication. And then it is key to effective communication. Whenever there is, even it could be between two friends. If both are speaking, do you think they'd have good friendship? Probably not. One speaks and the other listens. Only then they gel. Even if it's a husband or a wife, one speaks, the other listens. Only then they are happy together. If both are speaking, then it could end up in a, misunderstanding. So, without it, messages are not clearly understood. If you don't listen carefully, if you don't listen proactively, you probably can't understand the messages, or you might misunderstand messages. And therefore, one should, you improve this skill of listening if you want to become a master at communication. So, if one's communication skill, if you want to master communication skills, you have to be a good listener. So, what is listening? It is trying to understand what somebody is saying, and then why is it important? To be good at communication, not to be misunderstood, to be able to give out correct information and receive good information, and then to be an effective communicator. That is why it is important. And you can tell with examples, only when you listen, when you listen to I would like to give you some examples, like when you listen to your favorite music, don't you pay all the attention? But when you listen in class, you're not actually listening. So that's the reason you remember all the songs by heart, but not the lesson taught by the teacher. You know why that happens? It's just that you are paying more attention to the songs than to what the teacher is saying. That's the reason you remember that and not this. So try to listen proactively in class, and you probably will not have to study as hard. Once you listen carefully, it's almost half the work done. half the job done. You've understood the message, you've understood the information, you've understood the lesson, and it's very easy to, repeat it or retrieve it. So listening is very important. So listening also improves, builds rapport and trust. When you listen to somebody, you seem to behave like you care. When somebody is talking about how sick they were, or how they were absent yesterday because there was some problem, and if you listen carefully, there will be a lot of trust because they assume you're listening because you care. And then, you're also demonstrating concern when you're listening to someone. It could be a speaker on stage. If you're listening carefully and you nod your head once in a while, it tells the speaker that you're listening carefully, and you're nodding and making eye contact. Actually, it really enhances this and makes the speaker more energized. Okay, so even the teacher in class, if you listen carefully, she can tell whether you're listening or not. The way you're sitting, the way your head is bent, the way you nod your head, the way you make eye contact, all these are things which tell the other person that you're listening. So if you listen carefully, you can actually understand better. And non-verbal clues like nodding, eye contact, and leaning forward are also gestures or body language that tell somebody that you're listening. Generally, when you introduce yourself for the first time, you can tell whether the other person is listening or not when they try to repeat your name again. So they've heard the name and they try to repeat it. Why do they repeat it? They want to register it. So, but it shows that they care and they want to remember your name. So listening is an important skill. I've spoken for more than a minute, but I'm just trying to explain how you can talk a minute about listening by taking these three points. Okay, the next thing you should remember when you're speaking is, apart from any topic, like I said, you should know why the topic is, what it means, why is it important, and then give some examples. The next thing when you're speaking in a jam is intonation. So, what is intonation? Intonation is your tone, the volume, and the pitch of your voice. Does it have the correct intonation? Have you ever wondered why, when someone is angry, they have a raised voice? Think about your fathers. If he's calling your name loudly, then you know that something is the matter, right? If your name is Ramesh and he says, "Hey Ramesh," you understand that he is angry, right? So actually your intonation, the tone and pitch and volume of voice tells the speaker, tells the listener something. It tells you what your emotions, feelings, or what you're trying to convey. So intonation is also very important. So how to intonate? Because intonation is the rise and pitch of the language. One second. When you speak, your voice generally goes up and down like this. It does not go in a straight line. Right? If it goes in a straight line like this, it would become, if I speak without any intonation, completely in the same pitch and tone, I'm sure you will find it very difficult to understand, because I'm speaking in the same tone and there is no intonation in my voice. Was that good? Did you find a difference when I say intonation? So when I say intonation, I mean the rise and the drop in the pitch of my voice. Even the volume increases and decreases at certain points. Have you noticed that when I say and, if, so, the tone decreases? That is what mean when we say stress the keywords. How do you intonate? When you're speaking about any topic, the keywords, suppose it's listening, the keywords there would be communication skills, listening, proactive, and the weak words would be all the prepositions, maybe conjunctions like and, but, since, and then of, is, a. So you try to speak those very softly and stress on the key words. Not that always, sometimes you have to stress even on the prepositions, but most of the time. See how most, I'm stressing on most because that is an important word. Most of the time. Again, of the is said slowly and time is loud again. So you see how there is a rise and fall in the pitch? That is called intonation. So you have to stress on the key words and you do not stress on the weak words. Okay? On the weak words. Words is again slow because you already know the word. So words. So that is how intonation, what we mean by intonation. And then drop your pitch. What do we mean by drop your pitch? Whenever you're speaking, English is actually a sing-song kind of a language. You don't speak it in a continuous flow. You stress and you speak some words louder than the others, longer than the others, and with more volume than the others. And some words are softer, not so loud, and with very little stress on those words. So, when do you drop your pitch? See, when do you drop your pitch? So, how did I start? When do you drop your pitch? By the time I came to the end of the sentence, didn't that pitch go down? So, at the end of a sentence, you generally drop your pitch. That is, it tells you that the sentence is going to end there. That's why you drop your pitch at the end of a sentence. But when you start a sentence, it is generally higher. When you come to the end of it, it is generally lower. So that is what we mean by dropping your pitch. And at the end of open-ended questions. What are open-ended questions? Where the speaker has to answer he has to come up with some feedback. Oh, you're coming to the movie tomorrow, aren't you? So the listener has to answer whether he's going to come or not. You're coming, right? You're coming, right? That means he will say, yes, I'm coming, or no, I'm not. So whenever you're having open-ended questions where the listener has to answer, you drop the pitch. That you tell them that, okay, I'm finishing my question. This is your cue to start speaking. Generally, in group discussions also happens. You can tell when a person is going to stop speaking. After speaking for 20-30 seconds, you can tell by the way the tone and pitch reduces. That is your cue to start speaking. Or else how would you know whether a person is going to end his sentence or not? You can tell when they drop the pitch, when they become a little softer in their tone, and then that's the time for you to take the cue and start speaking. But there is a time when you raise your pitch. When do you raise your pitch? Is at the end of close-ended questions. So, close-ended questions are questions which don't need answers. Like, it's you just answer in a yes or no. It's very hot today, isn't it? Isn't it? So, yes or no. There is no further. So, there it is. Close-ended questions, you raise your tone or your pitch. Then, choices. You also drop your pitch at the end of sentences when you're giving choices. Like, I have an example here. If I say it like, do you like tea, coffee, milkshake? If I say it loudly, you're waiting for another option, right? But if I say it like, do you like tea, coffee, or milkshake? When I say the milkshake softly, you understand that that's the end of the choices, right? So you drop your pitch or your tone at the end of choices. Or when you're reading out a list, you have to come to college with proper uniform, proper shoes, proper socks, tie, and a ID card. See how when I came to the ID card, the pitch dropped? Because that's all I'm talking about. When I'm giving out a list, the last item in the list is said softly to tell the a listener that you're ending the sentence there. So at the end of choices also you drop your pitch. So this is how, this is where communication skills, or the person who's listening to you understands you better, and he knows what you're going to say or when you're going to end a sentence because of this intonation. That is why intonation is very important in English, and that's the reason sometimes we are not understood correctly by the listener, because our intonation is all wrong, because we have a lot of mother tongue influences, and probably in our mother tongue, which is Telugu right now, most of us, of course, there is a sort of a, you give the same amount of importance to each word. So what happens is, if you speak English in the same way, you could get mistaken. You probably would not be understood easily, because there is this intonation, rise and fall of tone in English. So, tone. This is again very important. We were talking about intonation, when you increase your tone. But tone of voice, that is the volume of voice, the decibel level of your voice, how loudly or softly you're speaking, that also makes a lot of difference. For example, if somebody says, I lost my book, I says, oh, that's bad news. If I say that, would that sound right? Oh, that's bad news. Would that sound right? No, right? It would sound, if I'm putting in so much energy into that, would it sound right? Not at all. I'd probably have to say, if somebody says, I lost my book, I'd say, oh, that's bad news. Drop my voice when I'm speaking about something that is not good, something that's unfortunate. I have to speak about it in a lower tone. It has to be soft. But the same thing, if I were to, praising someone or giving a compliment, oh, that's a great dress you're wearing. Loud tone. But if I'm saying, I don't think you said that right, or I don't think you're right, that would be in a softer tone. So even the tone actually says a lot about the speaker, or tells about your feeling, what you're feeling. So that's why most of the time you can tell when somebody is angry or happy or sad because of the tone of voice. A simple word like, if somebody is coming late, if I say come, it means I'm not very happy. But if I say come, I'm happy. I mean, I'm inviting him in. So, the tone of voice also makes a lot of difference. So I'm sure all of you know how your parents, your fathers, your mothers speak when they're happy, when they're sad, and I'm sure you can tell by their tone how they're feeling or what they're trying to express. So the same thing happens in English too. The tone is very important when you speak. Your tone when you're speaking, especially in a jam, has to be energetic and expressive. You should be able to express the feelings in your tone. That's why we say, even when you're speaking on the telephone, smile and speak. If it's an interview or you're speaking to someone whom you want to impress, we say smile while speaking, even though the person at the other end cannot see you smile. Why do we do that? Because when you smile, the tone of voice changes. That smile is carried across telephone lines and it can be heard at the other end. So the way you express yourself, the way you smile and speak tells a lot about your confidence, the type of person you are, and that is why your body language is also important when you're speaking. Even in a jam session, your body language, is very important. So try to smile, try to feel confident, try to express yourself well. So all these things make a difference in jam. So rate of speech. Sometimes I'm a little, wary when I'm talking about the rate of speech, because maybe, excuse me, can you please? Um, Maybe I'm speaking at a very fast pace, because that's what we Indians do. That's one of the drawbacks we have. We think that speaking fast means speaking good English or speaking fluently. Not right. You try to speak too fast, the other person cannot understand you, even if you can do it. You see most native speakers, when I say native speakers, speakers whose mother tongue is English, maybe like the Americans or the English people, they speak very slowly. And so why do they do that? Because that's the way it should be spoken. So if you're not going to miss the bus in the next 5 minutes, try to speak slowly. When I say slowly, not very slow, not like, I remember Mr. Vajpayee. I don't know, not many of you know him. Some politicians do this to attract attention. They speak very slowly because you are straining your ears to listen to the next word. But you are no politician. Nobody will be straining their ears to listen to you. People who have gone up in stature, like, some Swamijis or politicians, where people are waiting to listen to them. They speak softly and slowly, and we are waiting to listen to them. But when it's just you have to speak at a correct pace so that the people can understand you, or else their concentration will be diverted and they'll go and listen to somebody else. So, what is the correct rate of speech? Generally, 100 words per minute, they say, is very slow. So, if you were to speak just 100 words per minute, it's supposed to be very slow. And 160 is about the maximum you can speak. Even if you're a fast speaker, it's about 160 is the maximum most of us can speak, unless you're a professional Guinness Book record holder where you can speak 200 words per minute. But that's considered to be very fast. So you should neither be too slow nor should you be too fast. So what should you be? You should generally speak between 120 to 150 words per minute. And generally, this is also the writing speed. So you please write at this, speak at the speed of your written word, like you're writing. Then people can understand you well. They can, because the brain can only understand words at maybe about 100 to 120 words per minute. If you go too fast, it's very difficult for it to, no, actually it can understand much faster than you speak. So what happens is it diverts itself. So 120 to 150 words per minute is the ideal rate of speed for speaking. So how do you get to the ideal? Try speaking for a few seconds and time yourself. See how many words you're doing. You can actually write down a piece on a piece of paper, 50 words maybe, and see how long you take to read that. That will tell you exactly how fast you are or how slow you are. If you're too slow, try to get a little faster. If you're too fast, try to become a little slower. So this happens with practice. The more you practice, the better you get at the speed, also at the tone, at the intonation. You get better at all these things with practice. And one more thing. Try to listen to good speakers of English. It does not mean watching. Somebody asked me, the other day, ma'am, I want to improve my English. Should I watch English movies? Excuse me. Of course, you can. But again, English movies, if it's American movies, there's an American slang. If it's English movies from the UK, there is again a different slang. So the best English, I would say, is the English that comes from countries like ours, where we've learnt English the correct way. So listen to speakers who have, not native speakers, but other speakers who have learnt English, and listen to our news channels. Listen to some documentaries. Documentaries generally have a very good rate of, speech, because they intend it is intended for the people to understand what is being said. So even the speed is correct, the pronunciation is mostly correct. So listen to channels like these where you can improve your English pronunciation, the way the words are pronounced, because we pronounce words just like what we hear. Sometimes we are taught a little wrongly when we're in school and we pronounce it the wrong way. So try to correct yourself as you go along. And English is such a changing language that every day words are added. That's why the dictionaries become fatter and fatter and fatter, because words are continuously being added. And English is a language which takes in from all languages. That's why it's a growing language. That's why it's always growing and becoming being adapted more and more, because it takes in words from Hindi, it takes in words from Sanskrit, it takes in words from Latin, from Greek, from French. Mademoiselle is a French word. Okay, Monsieur is a French word. Mantra or curry is a Hindi word. Mantra is a Hindi word. So all these there are lots of words that have been taken from Hindi and from Sanskrit. We don't know that, but there are lots of words. So English is such a language which is continuously growing. So try to learn these new words every day. Try to read the newspaper. Nothing improves your English or makes you better at spoken language than reading and listening. These are the two things you can do to improve yourself. And it's just like jam is also something which improves with practice. Unless you have all the vocabulary in here, how will it come out from here? Your brain is like a ATM machine, right? If you put in the card and expect to withdraw money, you should have some bank account, right? You should have some money in the bank. It's only then you can withdraw. Similarly, you should have some account with vocabulary. You should have a lot of vocabulary. Put in words as much as you can. And when you want to speak, it just pops out. So it just comes automatically. So the first thing you should try and do to become a good speaker is to read and listen to a lot of English. That's when you will become a good speaker. That's why they say that a good listener becomes a good speaker. So, and then practice. Sorry. So introduce yourself in 1 minute. So the next most important thing in why a jam is used is self-introduction. So generally when we say self-introduction, it generally should be within a minute, because nobody has the time. People are very busy. Nobody has the time to listen to you for more than a minute. Whether it's an interview, whether it's at a party, whether it's at a get-together or a seminar, you generally get 1 minute to 1.5 minutes to introduce yourself to somebody. So try to make a good impression. Even so when you introduce yourself, the first thing that should come out is, of course, your name and your occupation. If you're a student, then what you're studying, where you're studying, and followed by what is your other interests, maybe your hobby or your interest. If you're a person who's working, then probably the occupation you are in, what do you do and what do you do other than work, how do you spend your time, something to tell them a little more about you. That's what they want to hear. And then what do you want to do wherever it is, whether it's an interview, in college, in class, you want to make an impression, right? So when you want to make an impression, you have to work a little hard. You have to, practice, write down your self-introduction. That's what I tell all my students, in an interview, tell me about yourself seems the easiest question in the world. Because I'm speaking about myself. What's so great? Why do I need to practice when I'm talking about myself? I know myself very well and I can just say it in a few lines. True, but can you impress the other person when you're talking about yourself? Probably not. You can only do it well if you practice. If you write down in maybe 150 words, because that's how much you have to speak in a minute. So 150 words, you write down about yourself, write down the important things about yourself which could impress the other person. So you're here to impress somebody, right? So you have to try to impress them. You're just saying where you belong, what your father does, what your mother does, how many siblings you are, where you come from is not going to impress them, right? So, what are your strengths? What are the qualities that you have that could impress the others? So, even if it's a jam session, try to impress the other person with something more than just the mundane. Cover the most important things about you. Generally, when it comes to tell me about yourself in an interview, why I'm talking about this is whether you're a new student, whether you're a student who is just entering college or just going out of college, this is an important topic that you should know how to speak about. That is about yourself. When we say, tell me about yourself, describe yourself, or give me your describe yourself, or say give me your details, or talk about yourself, all these things mean the same thing. Here you're trying to put yourself in the best light, showcase yourself in the best light. Sometimes this is also called the elevator pitch. Have you heard that word before? What's an elevator pitch? An elevator, as you all know, is a lift, right? That goes up and down. So, if you were in a lift and you were to enter the lift with somebody important, suppose you entered the pitch with Narayan Murthy and you want to impress him. How much time do you have till you reach the 5th or 6th or 10th floor? Today we have express lifts, so only a minute. So, in that minute, you want to make him notice you. So, what do? You have to speak about yourself in such a way that he's impressed. So, that is why it is called an elevator pitch. A pitch is whatever, it's like a sales pitch. You talk about something, about yourself here. So, elevator pitch is also about a talk about yourself in an interview. So, it should be like that, right? So, that's why tell me about yourself or introduce yourself is so important. You have to do it right the first time, because you make an impression when somebody listens to you the first time. So whether you're just entering in on the first day of college, you might be asked to introduce yourself. How can, among 60 students, how will you be remembered? It does matter, right? So try to do that correctly and you will of course stand out. So that's what people are looking for. People are looking for unique, unique persons, somebody with a unique talent, somebody with good skills, good communication skills. So if you can practice and perfect this skill, there is no beating you. Whether you're in your first year, second year, third year, you're going to be good at everything you do, because communication is the first and the last thing that you need to, improve on. So be yourself. Don't try to copy anybody, because if you copy somebody, you will get all confused and don't know what to do. Even the words you use should be your own. Try to write down about your strengths. Maybe you're a very determined person, where if you think of something, you will do it no matter what. Maybe you're not a hard worker, but you're a smart worker. Or maybe you're self-motivated. People, there's nobody educated in your family. You're the first one to come and join the class, and you want to do something with your life. You're self-motivated. Think about what you are, and then put those words in there. And when you speak about yourself, use those words. So these are some of the techniques or tips to be a good speaker, a jam speaker. Doesn't matter, it could be for we say just a minute, a jam, but it could be for 2 minutes or more. You should be able to speak about yourself well. So with that, I think I come to the end of this session. I'm sure you've learned a few things about how to speak in a jam. Whether you're given a simple topic or if it's a difficult topic, you have to actually get the facts right. Even if it's a simple topic, you have to actually think, jot down the points before you speak. Always, whether it's a group discussion or jam, if you're given a minute to prepare or to speak about it, try to sit and write down what you're going to say. At least the important points. Then it makes it so much easier. Even when you're speaking about yourself, If you write down what you want to say, first I want to speak up my name, my qualification, then I want to speak out my hobbies. What are your hobbies? Two. Then I want to speak about my core competencies or my strengths. What are the important strengths that I have? Three. And then I want to speak about my project or my, it could be anything else, my technical skills, the other courses that I have done, the places I have visited. It could be anything just to make an impression. So if you have it all jotted down, you becomes so much easier. Then you don't have to concentrate on the subject. You just concentrate on presenting yourself well, probably with a smile and with a lot of confidence. So with that, we'd come to an end of this session, and thank you. Have a great day.